Well, son of a diddly. That's not ideal. Well, I guess we better see what here is going on. P0172 system tier rich extreme fuel trim. Alrighty, well, it looks like we've got a little issue here we're gonna have to sort out. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as you saw at the beginning of the video there, the WRX has a little bit of an issue going on. So the car is throwing a P0172 code, which is a fuel enrichment code essentially. So we got to go over the intake install and make sure I didn't goof up some stuff, because more than likely it's probably something to do with the install rather than an actual real issue with the car. I was dumb and didn't follow the instructions that Cobb provided, just because I felt like I could probably just throw it in there and not have an issue, but there is a few key steps that I think I missed, so we're going to go over it here and show you what I'm talking about. Also, before I get too far into the video, your boy here finally upgraded the camera setup to Canon M50, so hopefully we can get a little bit better content out for you. The GoPro was doing just fine, but there's little few things that I didn't quite like about that setup, so yeah, hopefully this video is a little more crispy now. The other thing I want to say is thank you to all my new subscribers. You guys push me to keep making content, so that's great. Actually, I met one of you guys today, a new subscriber, so that is awesome. You guys saw the logo on the front there and had asked me if it's my channel, and so that was kind of cool to see you guys. Anyways, let's get into it here. I'm gonna pop the hood and we're gonna tear some stuff apart and show you what we're looking at. Okay, the main area that we're gonna be looking at today, just kind of go over an install, is gonna be, for the most part, inside the air box here. I am gonna pull this off and look down where the intake tube connects to the turbo inlet, because there's another spot down there that I think I might have goofed up. But let's go ahead and get the top of that box off and our little intake snorkel thing there off, and I'll show you what we're looking at. Okay, so we got the top of the intake box off there, and what we're going to be looking at here is the placement of this air filter. And that filter already looks disgusting, so we're going to blow that out while we have it off. But if you actually read the Cobb instructions, unlike I did because I'm dumb, it says that you need to measure from the end of the intake tube 1 inch in, make a mark, and make sure that your air filter is no more than that 1 inch and no more or less than that 1 inch. Basically, this whole system with the Cobb OTS tune is calibrated to that specific setup. If you don't have it set up that way, basically it does some weird things, which I think is what I'm running into. Now there's some other issues that can cause that P0172 code. One of them is dirty MAF. I don't think that's an issue here because the car is brand new. It's only got, well, just a little over 2,000 miles on it now. I don't think that's an issue. The other thing, it could be a dirty map sensor. Once again, the car has so little miles on it, I don't think that's an issue. And then the last thing it can be, if you read anything on these intakes, a lot of people complain about the MAF sensor extension harness that comes with them. Over time, they're notorious for corroding, and then causing some faulty readings from your MAP sensor. Once again, this whole setup is so new, I don't think that's an issue. I think it's probably has to do with how I installed the air filter. And lastly, let me get a light here because you won't be able to see what I'm looking at. Down in here, where the intake silicone coupler meets the turbo inlet pipe, you have to make sure that that intake pipe isn't too far on, or the silicone coupler actually isn't too far onto that intake pipe, because the factory intake tube or silicone coupler, whatever the heck it's made out of, basically has little notches on it, and that turbo inlet has notches on it too, so that they line up and they kind of are keyed in a sense. So with the Cobb thing, or not thing, I can't think tonight. So with the Cobb silicone coupler that goes to the intake tube itself, it does not have a notch in it. So if you put it too far on to the turbo inlet, it can actually cause an air leak essentially, which is not good because that is unmetered air going into your engine, which then causes weird things to happen, basically like what I think is happening to mine. I don't think that's the issue, but we're gonna check it while we have everything apart here. I think most of my issue lies in that air filter not being in the correct location, just because once again, I'm dumb, didn't read the instructions. So don't do that. Read the instructions. Don't be a dummy like me. Okay, let's go ahead and get this air filter off here. I'm gonna be careful so I don't dump a bunch of dust and shit down in the tube. So unfortunately, where I work at a paper mill, we have hog fuel, and all the hog fuel gets all over everything and gets in everything, and it just makes a mess. I need to just stop driving my car to work because it's get out of there. Okay, so I clearly had that on there much further than it needed to be, just by looking at it already. So yeah, that's probably most of my problem right there. While we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and show you the MAP extension harness that I was talking about and what to look for on that. So right down there, here is where your MAP sensor plugs into. It's this guy there. And there is your actual MAP sensor on the intake tube. So because of how far away Cobb placed that, they had to do this extension harness. And what will happen is over time, moisture will get inside that harness, at least the connectors and stuff, and they'll start to corrode. Once again, I don't think that's my issue because of how new this install is, but on a car that has had this intake set up on it for a while, it's notorious for that to go bad. iWire actually makes a really, really solid MAP extension that I've heard a lot of people have really good luck with. And if that ever becomes an issue on my car, that's probably what I'll end up doing. It's like 65 bucks or something like that. But whatever they did as far as the connectors they used and the wires and stuff is much better than the Cobb setup. And it does not corrode like that. I've even heard like the Grimspeed intakes or their MAP extension and some other companies out there, I've heard theirs do the same thing like the Cobb ones. So whatever materials they're using is poo-poo. So just something to keep in mind. So per Cobb's instructions, you need to measure from this face in 1 inch, and on your filter itself from 1 inch from here to there. That's where the edge of this filter needs to sit. Now, I've never realized that would be much of an issue, but now that I think about it, I can see why. Because their setup is calibrated for certain parameters. Now, later on down the road, if you were to go get a Pro Tune or something, it probably wouldn't matter because they're going to recalibrate everything anyways. But if you are running an OTS map, just something to keep in mind. don't be dumb, follow the instructions. They're there for a reason. It may seem like something simple to install, and it isn't a hard install, but there is little key things like that, for example, that make a difference. And I'm gonna go ahead and measure out 1 inch on that, and once I get it marked on there, I'll show you what exactly I did. Well, I used to have a silver Sharpie, but we're, I guess, using a lumber pencil now, just for the time being. So all I did, once again, I measured 1 inch from the face of this in, and that's gonna be where edge of this is gonna sit, no more than 1 inch in, and no less than 1 inch in. Has to be in that exact location. So before we get too far though, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of reach down there and feel that silicone coupler and make sure that it's not on too far. I don't remember when I installed it how far I put it on there, but I'm just gonna double check that. I don't think that's an issue, but we'll double check. Okay, so upon further investigation, I found out that there is not an issue down there with that silicone coupler. Everything looks like it's in place like it should be, so I'm not gonna do anything with that anymore. I'm just gonna stick with the whole filter and putting it in its correct location first. If this doesn't fix my problem, then we'll go into a little bit further diagnosing, but I'm 99% sure that my issue is that filter and me not following directions. So let's go ahead and get that filter put back on, get everything buttoned back up, start the car, and just see where our air fuel numbers are looking. Because what was happening, basically, you could watch it just sitting there idling, and I mean, it would dip down into like the 13s. I even saw it dip down to like 12.9 as far as the air fuel ratio, so that's pretty rich for it just idling. And then it would kind of just hunt around for I'm guessing the correct mixture. So get everything put back together here, start the car, let it warm up and see what it's doing. If it still looks funky, we'll do a little bit more digging, I guess, here. So before we put this bad boy back on, let's go ahead and give her a good blow job, because yeah, it's nasty already. Within like 800 miles, I don't get how it got so dirty already. Well, I know, it's where I work, it's disgusting. That'll do it. Okay, we're gonna wrestle this here bad boy back on there, back in its home here. Alright, once again, we're gonna push this on there to that line, no further, no less. We're gonna lock this here homeboy down. Don't need to over tighten them, because these worm clamps are garbage and you will strip them out. Alright, that looks pretty good. So everything else checks out fairly good, so let's go ahead and get that cover back on and button it up here. So it doesn't appear to be doing anything strange quite yet, but I'm gonna let the car warm up all the way, because the fuel trims are gonna be a little bit different in warm up. Okay then. So the fuel trims are gonna be a little bit different when they warm up compared to when it's just sitting there idling and running after it's gone through its warm-up process. So let's go ahead and just let the car warm up all the way first, and then we'll kind of watch it here. Maybe go for a little bit of drive just to see what the heck it's doing. Okay, we're driving along here. So far, everything looks to be checking out. So I'm hoping that moving the intake filter was gonna fix my problem. We'll have to see with a few more days of driving and just monitor the air-fuel ratios and make sure that there isn't anything wonky going on there. Everything seems to be good so far. Earlier today when I was driving around, just cruising along, it would dip down in the 13s and then kind of jump up to 15s and then come back down to 14.6, 14.8, and then back to where it belongs. It's gonna jump around a little bit just because you're not under consistent throttle, and once you get into boost and stuff, it's gonna change the fuel map just a little bit. It's doing its job, but so far everything looks to be happy and where it's supposed to be. Okay guys, before we close this video out, I just want to talk about a couple things. One, if you don't know why my channel name is Dr. Rainier, right there. So for any of you guys that don't live in the Pacific Northwest, Rainier beer is a beer that is in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a shit beer, but for some reason I like it. So it shows the name of the channel. That being said, I'm in the process of creating a logo for the channel, some branding more or less, and I reached out to Rainier, which is owned by Pabst. So hopefully they'll reach back out to me here soon. So I've got some ideas for the logo, and I want to kind of incorporate some of, not necessarily a copy of their branding, but some similarities in it, and I just want to make sure I'm not doing any trademark infringement or copyright infringement stuff. Second thing, keep an eye out for the next video. I'm going to show you how to spice up that Cobb Big SF intake a little bit for all you 2015 plus owners that have the Big SF intake. I'm going to show you how to modify it a little bit here to make it different from everyone else. Once again, if you liked the video, smash that like button. It lets me know that you like the content I'm creating and I can make more for you guys. And if you aren't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers, and well, hopefully beyond that at some point. But alright guys, I gotta be kind of quiet here. Baby is sleeping. But I just want to say I reviewed some of the footage and realized that I was kind of out of focus in a bit of it. So apologize for that. I'm still learning this camera, and I'm still learning the editing software too. Adobe Premiere is like a foreign language to me. I've used Lightroom for a while now. I've got that down to a T for the most part, but this stuff, still learning. Well, that's gonna wrap the video up for today. We will see you in the next one.